today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi saying that everything was completely changed after President Trump came out and admitted that he did indeed in some form speak with and potentially pressure the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden.
This isn't relitigating the past. This isn't relitigating the election with Hillary Clinton. This is about the president abusing his office in seeking political dirt about an election that's upcoming.
We have seen a slew of House Democrats really adding their voice to call for an impeachment inquiry to begin. Some moderate swing state members of the House, also some allies of Speaker Pelosi. So very clear that she says and she felt that the time now has come.
I think you have more people on the side of saying politics be damned here for a moment. There may be a real moral call that there's a constitutional responsibility here to hold the president accountable.
Trump keeps talking about this unredacted transcript of his phone call with the Ukrainian president, suggesting that if people will just read this, they will see how misdirected these efforts are.
That call was perfect. It couldn't have been nicer. What Joe Biden did for his son, that's something they should be looking at.
This is a 5-page transcript. It appears to be a nearly complete transcript of the July call where President Trump asked Ukrainian President Zelensky several times to collaborate with Attorney General Barr and his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, to look into Biden and his son, Hunter. Now, he doesn't specifically mention military aid, but says the U.S. has been, quote, very, very good to Ukraine. So not an explicit quid pro quo, but the president was clearly teeing up his request to Ukraine.
The witch hunt continues, but they're getting hit hard on this witch hunt because when they look at the information, it's a joke. Impeachment for that?
From my point of view, to impeach any president over a phone call like this would be insane.
The American people are going to view this and roll their eyes because it's going to sound to them like much of the same thing they've been hearing for the last 3 years.
So what's the process? How does impeachment work? Well, the investigation is going to go forward, and if the people in charge of the House of Representatives, the Democrats, think that there is enough to go forward with impeachment, the House Judiciary Committee will consider what's called articles of impeachment, which are specific charges. And if they vote articles of impeachment, then the full House of Representatives will vote on whether Donald Trump will be impeached. Now, if there is a majority in support of impeachment, Donald Trump doesn't lose his office. That's like a formal charge. It's like an indictment. So if Donald Trump is indicted the way Bill Clinton was impeached, then the case will go to the United States Senate. It takes 2/3, 67 votes in the Senate, to remove a president from office. I think everyone believes it's very unlikely in a Republican-controlled Senate.
Impeaching Trump could epically backfire on Democrats heading into the 2020 election cycle. They've got plenty of races to focus on winning instead of trying to undo a race that they, sorry Democrats, already lost. It would, simply put, turn Trump into a victim, a place he loves to be. Impeaching Trump in the House without a real chance of the Senate following suit hands the president the ability to say that Democrats hate him so much that they are unfairly targeting him and ignoring their responsibilities to the country.
To understand the true meaning of what President Donald Trump told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in their phone conversation in July, it is important to remember that the president speaks in code. His longtime former lawyer Michael Cohen told Congress last February that Mr. Trump had never explicitly asked him to lie. "He doesn't give you questions. He doesn't give you orders," Cohen said. "He speaks in a code. And I understand the code, because I've been around him for a decade." The account of the half-hour conversation that the White House released on Wednesday suggests that the Ukrainian president understood the code as well. American politicians who raise enormous sums for their campaigns without explicitly promising donors an illegal quid pro quo, are also fluent in the unspoken language of their trade. If House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is serious about pursuing an impeachment case against Trump, she will have to employ expert witnesses who can translate Trump's code into plain English. She will have no problem finding them on Capitol Hill. Prosecutors do this all the time to help jurors understand what's really going on in wiretapped conversations between seasoned and wary gangsters. Any fan of The Sopranos would know that someone who has been clipped, whacked, erased, iced, or hit, has been murdered. If Pelosi hopes to prove Trump did anything impeachable on the call, a careful deconstruction of his words will be required, beginning with the transcript memo released by the White House. The president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, quite helpfully provided a definition of the crime of bribery in two fiery encounters on cable news with CNN's Chris Cuomo and Fox's Laura Ingraham earlier this week. The crime of bribery is if I offer something of value to someone in return for their official action, he told CNN's Chris Cuomo. He expanded on this for Fox's Laura Ingraham. The crime of bribery is defined in the Ukraine, as well as all of the world, as the following: you cannot offer something of value in exchange for official action. Unfortunately for Giuliani, this appears to be exactly what the president did. The White House's memorandum begins innocently enough, with Trump congratulating the Ukrainian president on his recent electoral victory. Zelensky then fawns over Trump. He notes that he copied Trump campaign themes such as draining the swamp and compliments Trump as a great teacher for us. Trump then reminds Zelensky that, well, it's very nice of you to say that. I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort and a lot of time. Much more than the European countries are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are. Trump then trash talks German Chancellor Angela Merkel, saying that she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't do anything. Next, he bashes other European countries in general. They should be helping you more than they are, reminding Zelensky once more, but the United States has been very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. He follows with the barely coded language: we've supported you, unlike Germany and the Europeans. And then there is the strange language about reciprocity, about the fact that things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. Zelensky now sounds worried. He may not be a student of Trump's political roadshow rallies and is probably having trouble following Trump's meandering stream of consciousness. Given what Trump has just said in the conversation, Zelensky could well be thinking, what is he talking about? What have we not been cooperative, reciprocal, about? Is Trump considering a permanent cut-off of American aid and support? A nervous Zelensky replies, reaffirming Ukrainian support and cooperation with the U.S., including support for U.S. sanctions against Russia and even a Ukrainian decision to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. Sensing weakness, Trump now follows with the ask, He opens rather explicitly, "I would like you to do us a favor though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it." He then makes a glancing reference to CrowdStrike, a company involved in the investigation of the hack of the DNC servers in 2016. And he follows with a request that Zelensky and Ukraine should cooperate with Rudolph Giuliani and the U.S. Attorney General, who will be calling him about getting to the bottom of whether former Vice President Joe Biden, Trump's political rival, interfered in Ukrainian affairs to compel the firing of a prosecutor who was investigating a company that employed Biden's son, Hunter. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, Trump says, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that, so whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. This Biden allegation has been debunked by independent fact-checkers, and to date there is no evidence of criminal wrongdoing by either Joe or Hunter Biden. Nonetheless, the perpetuation of such a charge, even if false, could seriously damage Biden in a close Democratic primary race. Trump says Biden has been bragging that he stopped the prosecution, so if you can look into it. It sounds horrible to me. All of this certainly looks like it fits Giuliani's own definition of bribery. President Trump appears to be using his official position as president to coerce the Ukrainian president to investigate possibly false corruption claims in an attempt to smear his Democratic political rival. The stick or threat that can be wielded is a cut-off of U.S. aid unless Trump gains a personal benefit, the destruction of a political rival. This kind of case is difficult, but provable, with a careful and fair congressional investigation developing corroborative evidence. In addition, it's possible that if the House votes on articles of impeachment arising from the Ukrainian incident, they will be adding a long list of additional charges based on factual findings in Robert Mueller's report suggesting obstruction of justice and abuse of power. The House could also lodge new abuse of power charges relating to the president's continuing and willful refusal to cooperate with lawful congressional investigations and subpoenas. This is not just a battle with President Trump, but a constitutional clash between the powers of the legislative and executive branches of the longest existing democracy in the history of the planet.